you have also talk about a peaceful family, an acronym for that, right? So I'd like you to talk a little bit about that. And then later, I'd like to share an acronym that we have come up with for peace as well.
Play is just a simple, I say, that's our native language, no matter what culture you live in. That is the essential language that we all arrive with, that even a newborn little tiny human is interacting playfully. And all that means is there's connection and disconnection, and then a little raising, you're just meeting them and saying yes, and like, I see you and let's go a little higher. I see you and let's play a little more expansively. Ooh, more joy. And then, give it a break, let them integrate and back at it. And to me, especially in the early years, I'm assuming your audience is all ages. Is that correct?
Yes, children.
Okay, so there's never, in my opinion, never a time play goes away. I think it's always implicit to healthy relationships. We love our playful relationships. I think that's essential as humans. And when they're little, what I like to tell parents is, you don't have to be their playmate. Like, that's not your role. However, if you can if you would love playing with them, perfect. But save your play energy for the have-tos. So transitions, if you can make those playful with a 2 or 3 year old, it's going to make things run smoother because you're speaking their language than if you try to, just rationally talk to them. That isn't always going to work.
Can you give an example, Carrie?
Yeah, totally. So, you've got a little person and you need to get to an appointment, and they're playing on the floor with their toys, and all right, we've got to get out of here, but I know transitions can be challenging for this little person. So old way of thinking would be looking, being across the room and just shouting out, hey, we got to go in a couple minutes, get ready. A 2 or 3, 4 year old, they're not going to hear, they're literally not even going to hear you because they're in the moment with what they're doing. So putting on your play hat, you walk over and you get on the floor and you look them in the eye and go, what are you working on? Look at this. I see you made a house with your blocks. So you're connecting, and maybe, you get their eye, and then all of a sudden you say, I think I saw a purple bunny outside and I really think we should go see it. And you make it silly. You don't obviously see a purple bunny. And you say, would you want to hop, or do you want me to carry you like an airplane? And you're connecting, and then you're getting playful. You're speaking their language versus we need to go get in the car, which is just boring at this point. They want to, and you can't do this all the time, but once in a while, if you can make, or if it's getting in the bath, and you might go through a phase where they just don't want to get in the bath, which is normal. Instead of just being the adult and talking and saying, we need to take a bath, you stink, we got to do this, you might just come right around the bend and go, oh, I have an idea. And you just get the bath going, and you don't even say what you're doing. You just act kind of silly, and you go over to the kitchen drawer and you rummage around and make a lot of noise. And then you pull out, the baster or something that's safe to go in the bathtub, and you run into the bathtub with these toys and you throw them in, and you don't even say time to get in the bath. You just playfully move them in that direction. And maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but it's worth experimenting with. Yeah. So that's play. 2 is
empathize.
Oh my gosh. So, when we are dysregulated, when we get into a state of upset, when we're in that more emotional mammalian brain, we're not locked on human, but we're in this more nonverbal brain, we don't want words. That doesn't help soothe. What does is empathy, a physical felt sense of, I hear you, I get it. And so, your 10-year-old comes home from school and they're tired. They're not operating from this human place. They're exhausted, and they start whining about the friends at school not being nice. And your parent, mama heart, papa heart, wants to fix it. And you want to tell them, well, here's why they're acting this way, or here's what you can do differently. But that's not what that brain state needs. What that brain state needs is, I hear you. Wow, it sounds hard. Zip it. And what you're doing is you're telling this brain, I'm with you. You are legitimate in feeling what you're feeling. I'm not going to try to fix it. I'm going to just be with you. And what that does, it allows the brain lids to come back on. So empathy is, and I say, when you have somebody who's whiny or cranky or just acting really not full on meltdown, but just unsavory, you always want to lead with that empathy, because that's going to communicate to that brain, I'm with you, I get it. And then that will allow more of the rational brain to come back online. But if you go straight into talking, what you're doing is you're just overwhelming an already overwhelmed brain. And then you probably will end up getting more of the bigger fight or flight meltdown. So empathy for self and other. So this is both. Appreciate. Is that A? That's my number one. If you take one thing out of this whole talk that we're having, to me, that's the ultimate fuel of healthy relationships. I mean, it's the ultimate fuel, in my opinion, of just living a healthy life, is what, taking time to notice the things that are working. And, I might even change it to awe, like find moments, I call it stringing beads on a necklace. Find these little moments of stopping and noticing, like, oh my gosh, yes, sometimes you 12-year-old drive me crazy, but oh my gosh, look at where you were when you came out of somebody's body, and now look at all you do for yourself. Like, I think when we're in the moment, we often are seeing the things that are hard or not working. And what I'm encouraging people, humans, to do is get ahead of it with appreciating. Because the more we appreciate, the more we get those things. What you appreciate appreciates. And so taking time and having even a practice of saying, like, whether it's first thing in the morning when you wake up, just before you even open your eyes, saying, oh, I'm with this person I love, or I have those people sleeping in the other room that I love, or I love this bed, or I'm appreciating that it's going to be a sunny day. Doesn't matter. It's not even about what you're appreciating. It's about tuning the mechanism within to look for the things that allow us to feel good. C is clarity. I am all about, that's like one of my other words, is taking the time to really clarify, like, what do I want? What do I value? And knowing that by being a parent that authentically knows themselves and knows where their boundaries are and what their limits are, and being able to communicate that and saying, I know you want to go outside and run around, and I'm not up for it. So letting the little person and empathizing, wow, you're really upset about that. Empathizing, but staying clear. Those boundaries are how your young person really knows themselves. Like, you holding boundaries allows them to push against something. And so that comes only from having that clarity. I do this a lot, and it's really that sense of what allows me to be in alignment with me, what allows all of the brain, body, heart, gut to really feel like I am with my isness. And then is it expression?
Express.
Yeah, talk, teach, tell them things. Do it when they're here, which won't always be a lot of the time, because that's when they can hear you, is when they're in that human brain state, when they're in that language. The language is only available when we're resourced and we have enough access to the neocortical functions. And so allowing ourselves, to be the parent that playfully can teach lessons. Oh, we are a family that loves to be kind to each other. Let's play the kind game today. And, they might think it's silly or roll their eyes, but I call it positive propaganda, that you're teaching, you get to tell them the way that you think life works and how you want to be operating with them, not just now, but later. Especially with siblings, I tell people, don't do it while they're in the scuffles. When they're not, and you're out on a walk or on a drive or sitting at the table, and you look at them and you go, you two are going to be friends for the rest of your life together. And how crazy is that, that you get to know each other now and you're going to get to be with each other for a long time, and we get to be a family. And how special is that? And what kind of family do we want to be now and 20 years from now? And you express the things that you value very openly so that they really know, like, where do my people stand on things? And so that's it. That's just a really simple way of saying, you know, a nice reminder of peace. So tell me yours. I want to know what yours is.
Yeah, so here the peace process that we talk about is, so it starts with pause. P is for pause.
Perfect. Go.
Okay? Pause. So when you're in any situation as a parent, first pause. So before you can respond or react to your child, pause first and think for yourself. So P. E is empathize, right? To help the child calm down. Okay. Then A is a wait for the child to calm down. Okay. And to regulate themselves first, right? So till then, there's no point in communicating or talking to them. Then once you're both in a regulated state and your brain is integrated, the emotional thinking brain's all integrated, then you go to the C, which is you communicate. You talk about, you know, what happened, and, you know, if you, what the issues were or why you were upset, or, you know, when you're both in a calm state, you're ready to listen to each other. Finally, E is engage, which is, you know, trying to converse and come to a solution on, you know, how you can avoid such situations, or, you know, come to or how you can solve an issue at hand, or, like you said, expressing yourself. So this is a, you know, pause, empathize, await, communicate, engage. So it's the process of handling yourself, essentially, you know, when you work with your child.
It's brilliant. I love it. Really, that's such a sweet way to invite people to just make that space, let the nervous systems calm down, and then get back into the connection. I mean, perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So now we're coming to the pause, right? You've talked a lot about the power of the pause. Yeah. So I'd like you to, you know, I like you, I agree with you. I think that's so critical. And I'd like you to really talk a little bit about, you know, why you call it the power of the pause. And you also talk about being and, you know, being and doing and being and doing, right? So it'd be good if you could like share.
Yeah. I think so. I think at least out here in the US and in the West, there's a lot more value placed on the doing, you know, that we're about, you know, going to school and getting the degree and getting the job and doing and creating, and that success is really like linked in the US specifically to doing, to, you know, being generative with your energy. And what we know based on our understanding of the brain and the nervous system, and also in the understanding of the wisdom of our isness, that there's this part of us that knows, like not just thinks or feels, but knows. And that there's that, the access to that, the access to really knowing how to direct your life from that inner guide within, really requires a space, you know, a moment, whether it's literally one moment or a day, or, you know, or a daily practice. Like there's infinite ways to create valuable pauses. And I love your piece, because I think that's such a clear way for parents to access that. But what I think is most important about this idea of the pause is it's, you know, I use the analogy a lot of, you're on a, like we arrive into the world and we've got these adult people who are, you know, metaphorically on this highway of life, and they're moving and they're doing and they're keeping it all rolling. And you, as a little tiny human, you get in their car, you know, you're along for their ride. And what I want to invite humans to be doing more and more is to pull the car off the road, stop, and actually look around and notice where you are, and then decide, where do I want to be going? So there's the pause with regard to just relationships, that anytime we can find that moment between the stimulus and the response to pause and just decide how we want to interact. And when we can then even bring that to our bigger life of who am I, and am I flowing in the life I want to flow in, or am I flowing in the life that was given to me? And, you know, I think technology is a big example of that, where we all sort of just jumped on this train of computers and phones and social media without really pausing and stopping to ask ourselves, is this how we want to do it? And so that's why I think the value of the pause, you know, there's this sense that I think there's a lot of ways that we operate, especially parents, where if I just go search Google for that one other question, or if I go find the expert who can tell me that, or if I find the right book and it tells me the answer, we're still rolling in that place of doing. But if we can stop and know, I might still have a question, I might still need an expert, I might still need a book, but I'm going to pause and I'm going to listen to, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? But even deeper, if I can get quiet enough, this space opens up for the wisdom that is within to bubble up. And a lot of times we answer our own questions, and we know, not just think or feel, but know what needs to happen next. And so I really am, that is one of my big wishes for the world, is let's just create more pause. Let's create more space around our thinking, our feeling, our interactions, our ways of operating, so that we're doing it with a clarity, that with intention, with a sense that that's the direction I want to be moving with my life. You know, life is going to happen. How do I want to meet it? How do I want to show up for it? And unless I take those times to pause and go in, I don't hear it.
I mean, I think you also, talk about, when we pause, it's really not about, you don't have to be active all the time. So when you take a pause, it's really not a waste of time, right? Right? So.
Yeah, there's a teacher that I have in this, I've heard this other places, that says, if you want to speed up, slow down. That a lot of times when we're racing around and trying to get things done, we're actually spending more energy than if we had taken a moment and really collected ourselves, got back in alignment with ourselves, and then asked, okay, what would be valuable now? What's my next step? You slow down, which you might think, oh, I don't have time for that. But ultimately, what it gets you is you have a much more intentional next steps. And specifically with parenting, because your children people are super plugged in to your nervous system. If you're going, and you haven't paused, you haven't re-regulated, your nervous system is resonating. You're communicating, whether you're saying it or not saying it, an energy of, not regulated. And then they plug in and they express what you may or may not even know you're experiencing. So to me, having practices of pausing to collect and just check in. You might notice every time you pause, wow, I'm running around like a crazy person. Oh, okay. Let me just be with that. You don't even need to do anything. It's just the acknowledgement, that moment of awareness of doing nothing, that's going to then allow for something new, something different, something more connected to happen.
So I think that pause is so key, to every aspect of our lives, in our
I agree.
relationships, in our ideas, in how we regulate ourselves. And so would you say like pause techniques would include like meditation and techniques like that would help with,
Yeah.
with the,
Walks without your phone. Like one of my favorite things is to, if I've had a big day and I've been on the phone with a lot of clients, I can feel myself wanting to like dive into the phone and look for whatever. I don't even know what I'm looking for. It's just a habit. But if I say, you know what, just walk around the block without it, usually I can re-regulate myself so quickly of just having not near the device, no music, no books, and I just be with the day, get in step with myself. And I teach a lot of classes, and so one of the things that I've come to realize is if I'm needing to figure out how I want to say something or what I want to share, instead of staying in the work, if I go take a shower or if I go take a walk or I meditate, sometimes just sitting down with nothing and closing my eyes, it's almost shocking how quickly. Usually, first 3 minutes, I'm still spinning. And then if I let it go a little longer, and if I get to about 10 minutes, it's like almost on cue, the idea that I needed comes up. And so, like you're saying, it's getting away from it and not doing the thinking and letting myself settle that allows that space to open. What I say to people is your isness, your beingness is always there, but we've created this thinking brain and sometimes our emotions that are just louder, and our beingness has no interest in getting our attention. It'll wait lifetimes to be heard, right? And so creating these pauses and these practices with the intention of I'm going to get as spacious as I can so that I can hear that deeper knowing that I really know when I know it is coming from something beyond me thinking it. Like, to me, modeling that as a parent and even saying to your people when they have, a request, like, I want to have a sleepover with so-and-so, and you're like, let me feel into that. Let me check in with myself. And not only are you going to give them an answer that feels aligned for you, and maybe they like it, maybe they don't, but you will show up with more clarity. And not only is that going to benefit them in the moment, but it also is modeling a way of operating from that knowing within that is ultimately the only thing that you can hand to them. Like, we don't know what their world is going to be like. We don't know how, we could, if we asked this question to our parents 50 years ago, what do you think the world is going to be like in 50 years? I don't think we would have thought it would be this. I think we would have known that there would be a lot of technology involved, but we didn't know social media was going to happen or TikTok or any of that. So to even think that we could prepare them for the reality of the world is not our best use of energy, but to prepare them to be empathetic with themselves and to have the moments where they truly know that they can tune in and listen and find that solution or answer from within and trust that feels like truly the ultimate gift you can offer.